Hey, yo, what up? This is Mark with the Mark Digital Live podcast produced by Felzine. You can find us at FELTZINE everywhere, and you can find me, Mark Digital, at MarkDigitalHD as a high definition. If you're a fan of the podcast and you want to continue this conversation online, please do so by joining our Discord, and you can find that link in the description to every single podcast. Please also rate us wherever you're listening to this. Every little bit counts, and your reviews go a long way to making sure more people hear what we're talking about. Peace. Hey, yo, what up? This is Mark with the Mark Digital Live podcast. Yo, we got some fucked up shit that happened to the homie, to the Zoe, to the Haitian brother, to the Caribbean god, Kodak Black. My man's has had some very unfortunate news fall upon him. He's gonna have to do 4 years. 4 years in the bin. It's sad, man. It's fucked up. Kodak Black is one of my favorite rappers. I've talked about that before. It's not only because he's Haitian. It's a lot of it is because he's ratchet. A lot of it is just simply because he doesn't give a fuck. And I love that about Kodak. I love people who don't give a fuck, who grab this mic and who don't give a shit. That's the type of stuff that inspires me. I hope that that's the type of vibes that I give off. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate anytime that someone like Kodak Black will not have the opportunity to express himself because he's so great at it. So it sucks. And I was talking to it with a lot of my friends, and a lot of people feel like, yo, he's gonna get out in 2 years for good behavior. I don't know all the details of it. Like, I gotta admit, this news kind of shook me up so much. I didn't look and see if the time was federal. If the time is federal, then you gotta do like 80% of it. If it's some state shit, then he could get off. He might even be able to get off in like 2 months if it's some state shit, and that's how it could be. But yeah, man, this is not an easy situation to deal with. My wife was the one I was talking to who said, yo, he might be out in 2 months. He's rich. And Kodak Black is rich. The whole thing about Kodak Black is Kodak Black has hits. Kodak Black is definitely one of the realest rappers in the game. He's definitely one of the most wildest. He's definitely willing to say shit that no one else will say. But it works for him. And he has a very, very large impact. And he has he's heavy in this game, man. So much so that I would say Kodak Black is one of those people. Kodak Black is the rapper that a lot of other rappers want to be. And I think that's what actually makes it really difficult for him in his career, right? It's like he's the type of dude, he's actually who DaBaby wants to be, right? Like, he's actually from the streets. He's actually like says shit like, yo, I wish I was still robbing niggas instead of rapping and shit. Like, that shit is, it sounds crazy, but if you're someone who understands street life, and if you're someone who understands what the hood is like, then you understand that. Like, niggas who's really from that life, niggas who is really stick up kids, niggas who is really hustlers, like, you start to catch that bug, and then you can't just shake that off mad easy if you really from that life. It's just like Iceberg Slim. Like, he died, you know what I'm saying, living that pimp shit because he couldn't stop doing that. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm writing books now, so I'm not going to do this no more. Like, he stayed in the streets. And a lot of real street niggas stay in the streets. Niggas like DMX, they stay in the streets because they're really, really from that shit. And I think for a lot of people who not from that, they'll never understand what the fuck Kodak Black is doing. So one of the things that I read that a lot of people like to talk about, and a lot of people like to mention, is the judge in Kodak Black's case. He said some shit like, a lot of people do dumb things when they're young. The problem with you, and he was speaking to Kodak Black, is you've been doing dumb things since you was 15. And a lot of people, they was like quoting that. They was like, yo, that's true, etc. Honestly, I think that shit's corny. I think that shit's whack. Because to keep it G, what did Kodak Black get in trouble for this time around? What he actually really got in trouble for. And if I'm wrong, please write me a message, send it to me, let me know, like, yo, dog, you was off, it wasn't the same case. But I'm pretty motherfucking sure the case that we're talking about with Kodak Black right now was the fact that he was on Instagram, Instagram live and he was posing with guns, right? He was on stories and he was posting with his guns and he had his kid around him. You know what I'm saying? He had his kid around him. He's a felon and he had a gun. And then straight up, like the straight up Florida cops, or maybe it was California. It was either Florida or California. They pulled up on him and they're like, yo, we seen you on stories with the guns. Give us them shits. And like this shit literally happened live on stories. Like we saw him get arrested for the shit. So I think with that being said, there's a lot of example making that we're seeing happen here. It's like, all right, yo, this fucking dark ass black kid who is a product of Haitian immigrants isn't just gonna get rich and defy our laws. And I'm against that. He should be able to defy the laws. He should be able to live good and do whatever he wants. He shouldn't think that he has to live like a felon anymore. But when you keep arresting the kid and then you keep saying, oh, why you acting like this? Why you acting so stupid? Why are you acting so crazy? This nigga been in jail half his motherfucking life now. What else do you expect? You can't expect someone to be liberated and smart and woke when you don't even give them the chance to bear the fruits of their labor. Okay, so that's one aspect of it, right? You have the whole celebrity making a whole kind of example out of him. The judge is saying that he's been doing silly shit since he was 15. Okay. But the thing about it, I think, too, when it comes down to it is, at the end of the day, it is his constitutional right to be able to keep and bear arms. So one could argue that it's okay. So the same way in places like Florida and Georgia and California that we're fighting against this idea that people shouldn't be able to vote. Sorry, people are saying like, yo, if you're a felon, you should still be able to vote, right? This is something that most people believe. So if you're a felon, if you have the right to vote, shouldn't you still have the right to carry a gun? Just because you committed a felony at any point in your life doesn't mean that you're no longer a United States citizen, right? All right. Most of us would agree with this. So that means that Kodak Black is being sent back to jail for exercising a right that he has. Until America decides that we're going to outlaw guns, until America decides that we're going to get rid of the Second Amendment for everyone, it's not fair to place this burden on felons that they cannot have a gun. This just doesn't even make sense. So that's what it goes down to. It's like if this was anyone else besides Kodak Black, the whole thing about him just being so stupid just wouldn't even fly. The last point I want to make is a point that I was kind of alluding to when I started this. I talked about the baby, and I said, Kodak Black is the type of rapper that the baby wishes he could be. The reason why I say this is because obviously people like the baby are industry plants. For anyone who doesn't know what an industry plant is, especially in hip hop. I don't want to talk about other genres because the genre that I know the best is hip hop, rap shit. I don't know about whatever the fuck y'all niggas doing in country. But in hip hop, industry plant is someone who signs a record deal, basically gets money behind them before they have any sort of real street buzz behind them. Obviously, the baby is an industry plant. Even if he had a little bit of buzz before he got signed, the real shit where 99.9% of the people who know about him now today, they know about him because of what he's done for his label, because of the money that he generated, and because he acts like a straight up fucking coon. All right, like the baby dropping videos with fucking twerking people doing handstands with fucking Jabberwockies. This shit is disgusting. You know what I'm saying? Like, the baby's out here acting like a clown, but then he wants to tell this story that he's a street nigga. And I firmly believe that the industry is afraid of Kodak Black. Why? Because he came up with a very small label that was just him and a couple of people and a couple of his OGs, and they focused in and they made something happen that was a real movement. And when you have something like that, the industry not only doesn't support you, but the industry hopes that you fall. And so the baby can go all around the motherfucking country, knocking people out and doing all this bullshit on camera and doing all this bullshit on social media so that he could get popping. But as soon as Kodak Black does it, what happens? He goes to fucking prison. So you explain to me how that's fair. You explain to me how the baby could do some dumb shit on social fucking media and he gets more popping for that shit, but when Kodak Black does some dumb shit on social media, he actually goes to jail for it. Because Kodak Black is not an industry plant. So that's why I say free Kodak Black until that shit is motherfucking backwards. Shout outs to my Haitians, shout outs to my Zoe, shouts out to Miami, Florida. I'll see you out there soon. Peace.